Hi everyone, welcome back. Sorry I've been away for a long time, but I've been quite busy with one thing and another. This is just a quick video that I'm doing for the Reddit Guitarpedals community rig rundown weekend. So I'm just going to be showing off some of my gear basically. So get stuck into it. Hopefully it's not going to be too long. So guitars first then. So here we have my favourite guitar, my number one. It is my Fender Mexican Tele Deluxe. I believe it's an 09 Player Series, would it be? I don't know, but yeah, so it's got the wide range humbuckers. It's really lovely guitar. I just love it to bits. I've had it for about 8 years. I've not done anything really modification wise, nothing major. The only thing I did was change the pots from 250k to 500, which really opened up the humbuckers, and it really sings now. Oh, and I think I changed the plate here from the stupid little dish thing that Fender put on their Telecasters, which always comes undone after about 6 months, to like a Les Paul style input. But aside from that, oh, and getting the back of the neck sanded just with some really fine grade sandpaper, which my mate Phil, who you will know from this channel, did for me a few years back, and now it's super smooth now. It's so smooth. It's ridiculous how smooth it is. This is my most recent acquisition. This is a Fender. It's a Jag. It's the Vintera model. It's a recent model. I think it's only been out the last few years, and basically the story behind this was, I think one of the last videos that I posted on here was me doing the top 10 Johnny Marr riffs, and I was playing Phil's Squire Vintage Modified, and it was the first time I'd ever played a Jag. I'd never really been that into them before, but I just really loved the sound of it. So I ended up buying this, and this is kind of has become a firm favourite very quickly. It's probably my go-to sort of single coil guitar. What happened was basically the reason I've not really posted any videos in like the last 12 months or so is that I have been freelancing, doing various bits of audio production work, working sort of remotely with people, session work, things like that. So it's stuff like mixing tracks for people, sort of adding bits of guitar and bass and other instruments to existing tracks, producing sample libraries for people, editing podcasts, ghost writing songs, like just all manner of things basically. I've really gotten stuck into that the last 12 months, but it has been incredibly time consuming, but also a lot of fun and really rewarding. And the first job that I had was helping a guy in Germany create a sample library for a project that he was working on, and he paid me handsomely for my time, and with some of the money that he paid me I bought this. So it's particularly special to me, as this is the first guitar that I've ever bought with money that I've actually made from making music. So I'm really sort of sentimentally attached to it. It was just such a fun time, and a fun project to be involved with, and this was such a nice reward afterwards. I haven't modified this. It was second hand, but it was still sort of fairly expensive. As you know, I think the price of Fenders has gone up massively the last few years. So I think this still cost me a good sort of 600 quid. I know they're close to like a grand, brand new, aren't they? It came. The previous owner had nines on it, which was just ridiculous. It was virtually unplayable. So the first thing that I did was put 11s on it, and I sort of immediately went down the rabbit hole of researching sort of aftermarket bridges and how to set it up properly, and then I stumbled across a very entertaining video, I think from a guy in Mexico, I think, who basically was outlining that the best bridge that you can have on a Jaguar is actually the stock bridge. The problem is that no one sets them up properly. So that then sent me down yet another rabbit hole for about 2 months of researching how you are actually supposed to set up these bridges. I ended up finding again a very informative video from someone here in the UK, I think up in Newcastle, who's a bit of an expert with offsets, and it took me about a good month or two of endless tweaking, redoing things. The truss rod adjustment is at this end of the neck, so every time I wanted to make a tiny little adjustment to the neck, I had to unscrew the thing and take the whole thing apart, and it was a nightmare basically. But now it is set up like my life is it nice. It's just so good. It's kind of the single coil sound that I'd always wanted but didn't know that I wanted, that I'd subconsciously always been looking for. And there are pretty much no issues with tuning or string slipping. I did put some shims in the neck, but the proper wooden ones. I think I ended up using quite a few actually. I don't know whether you can see the gap. The camera's focusing in on that, but yeah, there's quite a big gap. But it did bring the angle of the neck up really nicely, which meant I could raise the bridge higher and raise the saddle, so there are no issues with slipping. And you go absolutely crazy on the whammy bar, just really abusing it, and it's still in tune pretty much. I mean, it wasn't quite in. I hadn't tuned it before the video, so. But it's no more out of tune than it already was. So yeah, this is, along with the Tele Deluxe, these are my two main guitars that I've been using an awful lot, especially in the band that I'm sort of playing with at the moment. Behind me, I have a Precision bass. It's the Fender Player Precision in a lovely custard yellow. I did have a P bass that I kind of put together myself, a sort of a parts caster thing. I don't have it anymore, but I'd spray paint it. It was an Squire Affinity, and I'd spray painted it Wolverhampton Wanderers yellow. It looked really cool, if I'm honest. But unfortunately, the neck on it was really, really warped, and which meant that it was a real nightmare to play. And also with it being an Affinity, I think the body was just always felt a little bit too small, so I was never 100% happy with it. So I decided what I really wanted to do was to just get a proper Precision bass. I'd resisted the P bass for a long time. I also have a Jazz bass, which I don't have with me at the moment. It's out on sort of permanent loan to a mate of mine, or semi-permanent loan. I tried all sorts of basses, and Rickenbacker, SG bass, like anything but a Precision basically, and But in the end, I caved. They are the most popular bass in the world for a reason. They just sit so well in a mix. They just sound so fantastic on pretty much anything. I don't know why, because the design is sort of just so simple. Just the one pickup, sort of split coil, just one volume, one tone. But they're also really comfortable as well. I just find the neck really comfortable. I think perhaps it's set back a little bit further in the body than on a jazz bass, which gives the sort of the feel when you're playing it of it not being 25 miles long. It just feels really comfy and really nice, and I would highly recommend a P bass to anyone who doesn't have one. Also on this wall behind me, I've got the Jazzmaster Jazzmaster. Like, everyone's got one of these days, haven't they? I don't play this as much as I used to, I've got to be honest. Even though it's a great guitar, again, a fantastic neck, which I think is, I think somebody told me it was based off the Rory Gallagher Strat, but how true that is, I don't know. But it's just, yeah, it's a really comfy neck, and a great sounding pickups, so they're not proper Jazzmaster pickups, they're more like P90-ish. Yeah, I don't play this as much as I used to, and I probably should. I think it's just kind of a case of option paralysis and just ended up going for the guitars that I use all the time. This is one of the earlier models, I think. Not sure what the serial number is. I think maybe 2012, 2013 model, I think. So I think the scratch plate is a bit different to the newer ones, but from what I've been told, the earlier ones are more desirable. Whether or not this is out of production now, who knows? Nobody seems to know anything about it. Like, there was a rumour it was out of production, then there was a rumour it was coming back, but there's still plenty of them around, seemingly. So, but again, this was second hand off eBay. I think it cost me about 300 quid, which is not bad really, considering I think to buy them brand new they're about 500, something like that. Down here beside me I have my Telecaster. Now this is a funny guitar. This is kind of a parts caster. The story is, this was the first electric guitar I ever had when I was 13, and it was a Squire Tele, and it was red and white. And then about 6-7 years ago, I decided that I wanted to sort of mod it. So I ended up buying a Fender neck. It's just from a Mexican sort of standard Tele. I had to do a little bit of work to make it fit because the holes were in the wrong place in the neck pocket. Then I changed all the electronics, and I put, I think they're 56 custom shop pickups in. But yeah, it's a really nice guitar. I really like it. Again, I don't really play it as much as I probably should, but it's there when I want it. And every time I do pick it up, I always forget how great it is. I used to, when sort of back in the day when it was the Squire, I used to play it a lot, just by nature of the fact that I didn't have many other options. But it used to sort of be my main sort of go-to guitar, but it's kind of fallen quite far down the pecking order these days. The guitar this is the guitar people are going to be least interested in, I think. It's a Takamine acoustic. I'm not sure the model number, but all I know is that it's old. It was 500 quid on eBay. Bought it in about 2012. So I've had this 11 years. It's a very old one. It's from, I think, 1983, but it's got a beautiful sound. Yeah, I'm going to move swiftly on from this because there isn't really an awful lot to say about it other than that. And we have my SG, which is probably after the Tele Deluxe and the Jazzmaster, Jaguar. This is probably my second guitar, sort of most played guitar. It's an 06 faded cherry, so it's sort of just pre-Gibson becoming completely rubbish. I have modified this quite a lot. The pickups are no longer stock. These are bare knuckles. I think that's a mule, I think, in the neck position, and I think that is a a riff-raff. That's what it is. It's a riff-raff and a mule. They've got the kind of the nice aged nickel covers, which go really well with the sort of the faded cherry of the guitar. I also completely changed the electronics in this, so both of these pickups now split down to single coils. Well, you know, sort of single coils, with the two volume pots. You know, they're just push-pull pots, which split them down, which is useful. It's a useful guitar to take to band practices when you don't want to be taking sort of 2 or 3 guitars with you, plus, you know, pedals and amps and all manner of stuff. Just because you can, because you can just switch from humbuckers to kind of single coils without having to change guitar. It's very, very played in. Most of the paint has worn off the neck. Don't know whether you can see that, but yeah. And we've also got my Strat. I think this is a 2012 American Special that I got off eBay again. It was about 600 quid ish, something like that. Mainly because I like the big 70s style headstocks that you got on the American Specials. I've changed the scratch plate at the moment for a black one rather than a white one, so that it'd match the telly. So they're kind of like a matching pair. But yeah, Texas Specials pickups. Again, it's another guitar that I really don't play as much as I should. I'm not really a Strat guy, if I'm honest. Although you've probably seen it on my videos a few times, but that tends to be the only time I use it. Because I don't know why. It's because there's nothing wrong with it. It's just I'm not really much of a Strat guy, I don't think. But it's the sort of guitar that I feel like everyone should have a Strat in their collection, just in case. You never know when you're going to want one. And the last electric guitar that I've got, this is an Epiphone ES335 Pro. It's, I think, the only guitar that I actually bought brand new in my collection at the moment. I just bought this brand new from PMT in Birmingham. Just before the lockdown, I think it was, so late 2019. I used to have an Epiphone Dot years and years ago, and I basically sold it because I kept thinking that there were better options out there. So I sold it and exchanged it for a Tokai sort of equivalent, which looked a little bit more like the Gibson because it didn't have the super elongated Epiphone headstock. But I hated how it sounded. I don't know why. There was just something about it that just sounded dreadful. Probably the pickups, I imagine. I considered changing the pickups in it, but with it being semi-hollow, I didn't want to get embroiled in having to work through the F-hole and all that. So I sold that. Then I bought a Gretsch Streamliner, which I ended up sort of modding quite heavily. I did end up changing the pickups in that to the proper Filtertrons, and ended up having to work through the F-hole in the Gretsch anyway, which, believe you me, was an absolute nightmare, and I never want to do again as long as I live. Pretty much the hardest rewiring of a guitar that I've ever done. Total and utter nightmare. Never again. And I did all that work on it only to decide that I still didn't like it, and sold it anyway. So I mean, I'm not a huge sort of semi-hollow player, but I feel like it's the sort of thing everyone needs one, you know, in their collection. So I sort of thought, maybe I'll just go back to the Epiphone Dot. That's the one I was happiest with. And I went into PMT with Phil, who ended up, I think he ended up buying a casino that day as well. I don't know whether he's still got it. And they'd got the standard Dot, and it was before the new Inspired by Gibson series had come out. But they'd also got this, the Pro, and this was this was miles better. It's a really good guitar for the money, and it's got the nice block inlays, which I liked. It got a much more sensible pick guard. It hadn't got the daft looking Epiphone one on there. And also it's another guitar that I have where the pickups are coil split, with these push-pull pots here. And it actually sounds really great on the single coils as well. It's a hugely versatile guitar, and I almost feel bad for not playing it as much as I should. I feel like it's going to waste. But there we have it. Another bass now. This is a Harley Benton. I'm not sure what the model number is or anything like that. All I know is that I spotted it on eBay for 80 quid. I thought that looks cool. I'm going to buy that. Bought it. I put flat wound strings on it, and it sounds incredible. The neck is not the best in the world. The intonation is really difficult on it due to the floating bridge. But I have used this so much on recordings, almost as much as the P-Bass, for when I want a more kind of vintage 60s-y kind of bass sound. I don't know how in tune it is, or whether you'll even hear it, but... The answer is it's not in tune at all, and I can't remember how to play that. But you get the general idea of how it sounds. It's just such a cool and unique bass, yeah. So again, if you spot one of these on eBay, buy them. They don't come up that often, but they are definitely worthwhile having in your collection. And the last of this stuff is a 6-string banjo. It's a present off my wife, wedding anniversary gift a few years back. Has come in really handy doing sort of sessions and samples as well, randomly. A lot of people seem to want banjo samples, which is unexpected. And it's tuned exactly like a guitar, so I didn't have to go to the bother of learning how to play the banjo and weird alternate tunings. And yeah, gets the job done. It's a banjo. What more can I say? I have got a few other kind of folk instruments, interesting things. I've got a mandolin, ukulele, and most recently, again, another present off my wife, I got a Lapsteel. Now, I cannot play a thing on this properly. I do not know how to play this thing at all. But what I do know is that if you use an ebow on it and play it through a load of pedals, it sounds unbelievable. It sounds really, really cool, especially when played through the Boss SY200 synth with an ebow and a slide. It doesn't sound a thing like a Lapsteel, but it sounds really, really interesting. So yeah, I'd recommend getting one of these for anyone who just likes to experiment. So over to amps now, and that is my AC30. I think it's the most recent version of the AC30 that Vox do. I used to have the 15, but the band that I'm playing in at the moment has just got a ridiculously loud drummer, and the AC15 could not be heard, basically. So I traded it essentially for an AC30, and it's great. Really like it. Yeah, it's brilliant. Contrary to what people will tell you, it is perfectly capable of playing at bedroom volumes. All you need to do is just, use a distortion pedal or an overdrive pedal and turn the volume down on said pedal, and you get, great sound at a low volume. or just play clean at a low volume. You know, I understand that, you know, people want the sort of the natural sort of breakup of the amp. That is not possible at low volumes, but you know, there's no reason why you can't sort of drive it with the pedal at low volume. You know, I mean, if you know, you never play anywhere other than at home, then it's probably not really a good option. But you know, it is perfectly totally possible to play it quietly, despite what people will tell you. And I have another amp as well. I've got a Marshall over here. It's an Origin 20 head, with an orange cab that's got a what speaker is it got? A greenback. Yeah. In fact, I did a video, I think, towards the end of last year of the speaker swap, if you've not seen that. And I bought this really just to kind of give me another option, I suppose. Sometimes I take it to band practices with me because the amps that they have there are terrible, and you know, I didn't want to be dragging my AC30 around with me all the time. And you know, Marshall, Vox, it's, you know, they're in a similar kind of ballpark sound wise, but different enough to sort of make me feel like I've got another option. And usefully as well, there is a way I've recently discovered of plugging this into the speakers on the AC30 and bypassing the amp on the AC30. So I actually take this with me to gigs now as a spare head, just in case anything was to happen to the AC30. And I can plug it into it and use the greenbacks in the AC30 as a speaker cab, essentially, which is really, really useful. The other thing that this is really, really useful for is it has an emulated output. So if I'm recording and my sort of recording session is going on quite late and the neighbours are not happy, I can plug it straight into my interface over there, and just use an impulse response cab in Logic, and it sounds great. So pedals now. I've got two boards on the go at the minute. So oh dear, I need to stay out, keep my shadow out of the light. This is my live board, basically. So I've got my Crybaby, I've got the massive Whammy DT, I think it is, because it has the drop tune on the side, which is incredibly useful pedal, and it's got a great sound. The Polytune, the two Rats, I managed to get one of the white ones, again off eBay. I have those set at sort of different levels. So the first Rat, the black one, is kind of just like a light crunch, which sort of does for most things, and then the white one is sort of set much, much higher, and then which kind of does for sort of heavier stuff. But then if you put them both on together, it's just insane. And the Hot Cake, which I mostly just use as a kind of a clean boost, really. The DD8 is a great pedal. The Phaser, I think that's one of the Japanese ones, actually, one of the early ones. My brother gave me that, actually. I think he just found it. So I think somebody gave it him, and we had it from a car boot or something like that. And then over the back, I've recently gotten the SY 200 or 500 or whatever. It's the big SY one anyway. And I use that sort of live quite a lot, just for sort of adding synth or organ parts to the song. The Nux Mod Core, it's the original one. I think they've changed the design slightly now. I'm not sure what's different about it. That's actually the pedal I've had on my board the longest. I've had that on there for about 8 years, because it just does everything, and it does everything really well. Any kind of modulation you want, it's there. So it's just really useful for live stuff. And the Bell Epoch is just like an insane delay pedal that is, I think it's kind of like meant to emulate the old Echoplex. But it also, you can also get some very sort of Memory Man-esque sounds out of it. I mainly just use that for making a lot of noise, really. And then it's also got the tap tempo switch next to it, which very usefully has got 2 outputs. So that's hooked up to both the DD8 and the Bell Epoch, and it sets the tempo of both of them at the same time. So you can, they can be sort of in sync with each other, and you can sort of do dotted eighth notes by having them both on and all sorts. And then the final piece of the puzzle is the marine layer, which is Fender's kind of standard reverb pedal, and I have that because it's just got a really nice deep thick reverb sound, and you can do some really cool sort of shimmery stuff with it. And my other board over here, which is more my kind of recording board, so it kind of has the just basic stuff on it. So we've got overdrive, a chorus, got the space echo over the back, and for some reason I've got the back talk on there, although I don't really know why I put that on there, if I'm honest. I think it's just because I like to sort of experiment with different sort of small pedal board configurations to sort of see what ideas just kind of come to you by only having sort of 3 or 4 pedals at a time. So yeah, that's my board that I use for recording. And then I've got a few more pedals up here on the shelf that I kind of swap in and out. Just bear with me. So that is a cable tester, a Behringer one that they ripped the idea off somebody else, can't remember who. Everyone should have a cable tester. Really, really useful thing to just have in your bag or just around. Bass drive, again, another one that my brother gave me. I haven't really used that much yet. I haven't had much call to... Oops, some of my things are falling over. I haven't had much call to use that. Memory Boy, that was off Phil. And I can't sing its praises highly enough. It's a genius pedal, that is. It just sounds so good. That will be going back on my board at some point. I just felt like swapping things around for a little while. And then over here I've got all sorts of weird things. Some kind of switch, skinny little twin. I think I bought that from it's a UK company that I can't remember the name of right now. But I bought that as a sort of a remote control for the DD8 before I realised that the Catlin Bred tap tempo thing would work with both. This is a Bit Crusher clone that I bought off eBay. It's really good, but you know, it's kind of a daft novelty pedal, so don't use it all that much. EQ, you know, always comes in handy. You've got to have one of them knocking around. Random tone generator. Again, a similar kind of story to the Bit Crusher. This is a Fuzz Factory clone, which isn't working at the moment. Again, this was another thing off Phil that I haven't got around to really fully exploring yet. I think that I'm definitely gonna put this on my studio board at some point. This was an Emoji Effects. It's kind of a really interesting sort of fuzz that it kind of goes everything from kind of like a clean boost to like a really nasty spitty fuzz. It's more something that I'm kind of waiting for a reason to use it. You know, it's sort of, I haven't really got a particular song that we're doing at the moment that kind of requires that sort of sound, but I'm sure at some point I will. And again, this is a Puffin Fuzz. I'm not sure what that's a clone of. And this is also waiting to be repaired. This is a dual rat made by Phil's mate Brian. The name of his pedal company escapes me at the minute. But this was on my board for several years, but it's developed a bit of a wiring issue, so it needs some repairs. And the Fuzz War, again, I love this thing, but it's so huge, and I haven't really got sort of called to be using it at this moment, so it's one of those that kind of comes and goes. And that's it really. I don't think I've really got much more that would be interesting. So thanks for watching. That's all my pedals. Bye.